Return to Bloody Nights was a game brought to my attention by popular creator 8-Bit Ryan after he played the game in his video named the best FNAF game of 2023. This title intrigued me, so I decided to watch the video to see what it was all about. After watching this video, I wanted to know more. So one evening, I downloaded the game for myself off GameJolt and gave it a go. Link in the description for anyone who wants to give it a go for themselves. I would highly recommend it. The Return to Bloody Nights was released by Kazovsky on March 26th, 2023. Only a few weeks ago by the time this video comes out, and it takes the player back to the Fredbears Family Diner where everything started. I really like the Fredbears location, and I think it's a good idea to have it as the location for this game. It's almost a nostalgic location because of how this kicked off everything in terms of FNAF lore, I'm pretty sure. My lore is a bit rusty though, so don't hold me to that. You take the job as a security guard in this Fredbear's diner, and you're told to watch the cameras to make sure no one breaks into the establishment to steal anything, and to keep the animatronics out of your office. Pretty typical FNAF stuff. Before we get into how to defend yourself from Fredbear and the gang, I just want to touch on the visuals of this game because I really enjoy them and think they look really great. The security office looks really nice in my opinion, and the desk is pretty cluttered with different papers, a mug, a calculator, a pencil pot, some tapes, a monitor, a tape recorder, Fredbear and Spring Bonnie figurines, and of course, a fan. I like that the desk has a lot of stuff on it because it makes it feel like it's actually used and it has some life to it. The office as a whole gives you the ability to look left and right to the hallway doors, and also behind you to look at the prize corner area, which is also really cool. It's stuffed to the brim with plushies, balloons, posters, and prize boxes. It feels like there's not much space in the office as a whole, which adds to the horror of this game, feeling trapped in this claustrophobic environment, along with that thing behind you. I also think it was a great idea to have the prize corner behind you instead of elsewhere. It makes you worry if there's anything behind you waiting to snap your neck. And plus it stops the player from having to only look at the prize corner on the cameras, which I think is a good thing. Along with the office, I think the rest of the diner on the camera feed looks really great. I don't know why or how to explain this, but the static used on the camera feed I really like as well. I'm not really sure why, but it just looks very retro, I guess you could say. Along with this, the animatronic designs look really damn good, and I really like that on certain cameras you can actually see movement from them, almost as if they are alive, which adds another layer of horror as they aren't just PNG images. They move and you can see them do it. Things such as Fredbear's final camera outside your office pose is terrifying and such a nice touch to add with his face pulled back and staring directly at the camera. A great touch, I rate it a lot. Anyways, I think it's time to get into the gameplay. How do you defend yourself from Fredbear and Spring Bonnie, you ask? Spring Bonnie, you ask? Oh my lord, let's hope that doesn't happen again. They both work alike Bonnie and Chica in FNAF 1. They both start from the show stage on Cam 1 and make their way down to your office in an attempt to get in. But you don't want that. So how do you defend yourself? Well, the office is equipped with two doors on the left and the right. You also have a flashlight that you can shine out the hallway to see if there's anything outside. Fredbear will try to attack from the left side and Spring Bonnie from the right side. If they're at your door, there will be an animation of them appearing at the doorway. When you see them, you need to close the door until you hear a loud thud, which means they've left. The door animation got me quite a few times at first and scared the life out of me. Once again, having an animation and actually seeing them move is 100 times creepier than them just appearing as a still image. So well done for adding this in. Really scares the life out of me. The doors in this game don't drain an overall power system like FNAF 1, but when you have them closed, they increase the generator heat meter on the bottom left of the camera feed, and if it's filled to the top, the doors will open and be unable to be closed again, resulting in your death. With just Spring Bonnie and Fredbear, this really isn't an issue whatsoever, but that changes in later nights when the 2.0 animatronics are added in. But just before we talk about them, I want to mention the prize corner behind you and what it actually does. Every so often, the puppet will appear trying to get out of his box behind you. Flash him in the face with your flashlight and he'll go away. This happens pretty frequently in the later nights, so it becomes something you need to juggle along with other tasks. I like the inclusion of the puppet, but he never really gave me any issues. In fact, I'm not even entirely sure what happens if you don't flash him. I'd assume you get jump scared and die, but I'm not sure. Anyways, onto Fredbear and Spring Bonnie 2.0. The way these animatronics are introduced to the player is genuinely terrifying. Around 4-5 AM on night 3, or Wednesday as this game calls it, you'll start hearing distorted talking coming from your left door. This is extremely off-putting and makes you begin to panic, as there's something going on that up to this point you haven't encountered and haven't been told how to deal with. I really like this as it throws off your game plan from what up to this point had probably been pretty simple due to the originals being pretty simple to deal with. So what Fredbear 2.0 does is start making noise from your left door. Eventually he appears from behind the curtain and progresses to your door. This sound will get louder as he approaches your door. When he is in his final phase, he will have his own animation of bending down and staring into your office. Once he does this, you actually have quite a lot of time to be able to deal with him. You can check on the puppet, check your right door, check the cams, and then close the door and still live. This is most definitely the strat on later nights, as he usually takes a while to leave, which highly raises the generator heat. I like Fredbear 2.0's mechanic, as you need to keep track of his different phases of how close he is to your door. You would be checking that door anyways to look out for OG Fredbear anyways, so it's a fine inclusion. Spring Bonnie 2.0 works different to everyone else and forces you to look at the right hallway camera to see if they're coming or not. They start off in the parts and service room in cam 6, and make their way to your right hallway at cam 8. They have different phases on this camera. One far away, one closer, one right up to the camera covering their face, and the last one peeking their eye in the gap of their fingers, in which they do before running to your door. Once they've ran, if you don't close your door in time, you'll die. If the door is closed, they will make a loud banging sound and then leave. I really like this mechanic, as it makes the player actually have to use their cameras, which was completely useless past this point in terms of actual gameplay. So it's nice we have to use them to deal with Spring Bonnie 2.0. I found the best way to deal with them was to close the door as they are in their first up close camera phase, as when they are peeking, you literally have seconds to close the door or you die. Now my problems arise with this character when I've experienced a bug that ended my run so many times. Watch this and I'll talk about it after. So I see 2.0 about to run, so I close the door, and have nothing on the left side, so I go to check the puppet. And then I die to 2.0, even though the door was closed. This was extremely frustrating, as I died twice at 5 AM on night 5 to this, and on night 6 at 4 AM, which completely killed winning runs that I am sure I would have beat. But the game screwed me over. I'm hoping this gets fixed soon because I could not imagine the raids dying at 5 AM on night 6 to this. Along with this, the knocking they do after they've been stopped is obviously the sign that they've been denied entry. So it's really frustrating when this sound plays, I open the door and then die to them.
Whoever's responsible will be held accountable. But enough about that.
I probably have to wait a little bit longer, but I just think it's frustrating how you can hear the sound cue that means that they've stopped and still die. There's actually one more character that I haven't written about at all, because I don't really know how he works, to be honest. I don't know if he can kill you, if it's like a, I don't know, but on the right door there's like an endo and he's slumped over, and sometimes he'll stand up and just stare at you. But whenever there's been a, like, he's never attempted to enter my office or anything like that, he's never like right up close to the door, never died to him. It's just whenever there's someone else there, like if Spring Bonnie appears, I'll close the door, and when Spring Bonnie goes, he's just slouched down again, so I don't really know if he can kill you. I'm going to assume not. So yeah, just wanted to at least mention that. Other than my issues with Spring Bonnie 2.0, I've honestly got no issues with this game. Everything plays really well, it has a really fun gameplay loop that keeps the player engaged and on their toes in the more difficult nights with juggling Fredbear 2.0, OG Fredbear, the Puppet, Spring Bonnie, and 2.0 Runner. It's a lot to juggle when they're all so aggressive, but it's so satisfying when you're able to do it successfully. Big props to the developers for making a fun but also terrifying game. I forgot to mention the jump scares as well, so I'll say that now. I think they're really well made and very scary. They definitely got me a few times and made me jump. I especially like 2.0 Runner's jump scare, just the way that they appear from the doorway and launch their face at you just looks great. They're also the one that I die to the most, due to the knocking thing I mentioned earlier, so I guess that plays a part in it too. I also want to mention the death screens, because by god they are brutal. Usually involving your character being left absolutely mangled. It shows how brutal these animatronics really are, and I think it's pretty horrifying, but a nice addition. There is also a story to this game that follows Henry and William Afton talk on the phone about the work that they are doing on a new location that they're opening. I don't want to massively go into detail about this, but I thought I'd mention it because it's what you hear at the start of every night, and I think it was a great touch to add in to listen to the development of William's anger build for Henry throughout the conversations. The Return to Bloody Nights is a great game that deserves all the love and support it gets, and I would highly recommend you go download it and play it for yourself. It's some great fun. That's all from me today then. Have a good day, evening, or night, wherever you are, and I'll see you in the next one.